That's my grandmother Winnie, but that's me there as a young lad. That's taken at 13 Kennedy Terrace, East Brisbane. That's my mother, born at Koran, the fisherman's camp at Koran. My great-grandmother, Mary Rose Terrell, who was born on the Mulgumbin Reserve on Minjerribah. I lived with my grandmother. For a time I was taken over there, and I lived at the, when it was a designated Aboriginal reserve, Moongalba. And we were under the control of a white mission manager. Women have played a major part in my life. My mother, Lydia Mai Tripcotty, all my aunties and my grandmother, Mary Rose Tripcotty, have been significant. I often reflect on the days of my boyhood, eating at the common table at the One Bar on Minjerribah when I lived with my grandmother, where meals were served with the grannies present, smoking their pipes and speaking softly in language. These images constantly revisit me and are the source of my strength.
History, Life and Times of Robert Anderson. Gibbon.
That's my skin name, Jabalum. Ngugi, Mulgumbin. Okay. Jabalum is one of the Sandhills, Jabalum and Canongai, creation of life story. Man, woman spirit. I remember too, as a boy, when we were under the supervision of the State Children's Department, that was at 20 Overend Street, East Brisbane. I remember a woman from the department, a Miss Ullman. She used to come at generally at school holiday times, and she would inspect the linoleum on the floor to see if it was clean. She'd inspect the bedding. In those days there was only one bottom sheet, we never had a top sheet. And then I'd have to lift up my shirt, she'd inspect my body to see if it was clean, and she'd inspect my hair to see if I had headlights. Nits, as we used to call them then. So that's what I experienced that. And on another occasion, I remember when I was taken over with other siblings, and we were on the island, Minjerribah Stradding, and we were placed on Moongalba, and Moongalba was a designated Aboriginal reserve. So we were put on the Aboriginal reserve, and we were under the control of a white mission manager who told us what to do, when to do it and how to do it. So I experienced all of those things.
How long were you there?
Well, it's hard to say as a kid, you don't have much of a calendar.
That's right.
But I like to say, if we do a fast forward with when the Labor government introduced national native title legislation and kayak was formed, Quantamuka, Ulu Burrabi Aboriginal Corporation, my community elected me as the applicant. So I'm the representative voice of the area where I was under the control of a white mission manager all those years before. Oh, it must be fairly good. Yeah, that's worthwhile. But the matter of it is that governments must know the situation to introduce the legislation to do it. And I reflect on the times when my mum would say to me when we were living in Brisbane, be off the streets by dark. The blacks had to be out beyond the boundaries by dark. Here's the three boundary streets. So you're looking over your shoulder all the time. So that if you infringe the rules, you might finish up at some did up at Yarrabah, up North Queensland. Yeah, I remember they growing up, started to walk around a bit, started to be a bit visible together. The stories you hear that they say, well, did you see Bobby Anderson? What do you know about Bobby Anderson? We know that he isn't white. So it must have been noticeable.
Yes.
And I do remember too, when we lived at 13 Kennedy Terrace, East Brisbane, sometimes drinks of a Saturday afternoon, full of booze and bad manners, But you see it outside our homes. Bulls live here, coons live here, niggers live here too. So there's always that bit of stuff floating around as well too. See, remember, I didn't live all that long on the island. So
That's
I
right.
lived in Brisbane, so the language wasn't spoken at home. The people were too busy doing their thing. And we had a dislocation in the family in regards to my dad. He worked on the Brisbane waterfront, and he was injured in an industrial accident, and he was institutionalised as a result of his accidents. So I was 8 years of age when he was institutionalised, so I grew up without a father. I remember the protectors, when they used to get together at different times. Well, some of them were talking about that those Aboriginal families aspiring for the higher social order can be happily absorbed. And the other thing too that I recall too is that reading through some of the documentation years later, on one occasion the state protectors got together and they were concerned, they were alarmed about their wards, because all Aboriginal people were wards of the state, and they were alarmed and concerned about the rapidly increasing numbers of half-caste children. For they said quite explicitly that it was more than likely that the child would be fathered by a low-class white man. So when I remember my daddy, who married my mother, and my granddaddy, who married my Aboriginal grandmother, they never looked like low-class white men to me. But I say to people at times now, remember when you're looking at me, you're looking at the son of a low-class white man. That's the impact of racism. And originally too, if you were to Google the original State Act, and its name was the Restriction of the Sale of Opium and the Aboriginal Protection Act. Well, they're all those things that subconsciously or somebody had that impact when you don't have full freedom of movement. When you call a coon a bull and a nigger, legally. And I later say, well, that's attestation of who I am. So all those things.
The Glasshouse Mountains hold cultural significance for Uncle Bob and the Ngugi people of Moreton Island.
We call them the ancestors, and who we got? We got Guwar, Timbergargan, Canora, Migadee the Mulga, Coochin, Trimba. So the Smarty, we call them the ancestors. And when we're over at different times, over on Mulgumbin, if you look on the clear day, you look right across and you can see them.
Yes.
I remember a group of us they're sitting there one day, we looked across and said, well, we said, well, our ancestors, they would have looked across their water and they would have seen exactly the same things. And they called Australia at the time was land. It's always there. All those places that indicate the present.